Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Jason Weiss. I am the host of the Ask Jason Weiss show. This is our first show in 2023, so welcome 2023ers. As many of you know, I am an attorney. I am also a coach and a consultant. Nothing I say here today is legal advice. Should you need legal advice, consult an attorney directly. Don't rely upon anything I say because we don't have an attorney-client privilege and we don't have any type of relationship other than hopefully viewers and people who like to hear me talk. So that is where we're at. Today, I have a fellow attorney who was with us in 2022 on the show, Corey Friedman. He is here. There he is. Hey, Corey, how are you?
Great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being a guest again. I know we talked a little bit about intellectual property and some other stuff in the past, but a conversation you and I have had a bunch offline lately has been needing to make sure you have it. And what does that mean? And when you see it, if you see the banner on the below, it's not IT, it's it. You need to make sure you have it. So what does that mean? And one of the things that Corey and I talk about is, we work probably 80, 90, 100 hours a week. No exaggeration. And it might not be sitting in front of a computer and banging out a brief or writing an email, but we're always on, always. And I think that is part of our profession. That's part of our upbringing. That's part of, everything. So, Corey, you're down here in South Florida with me, right?
Yep.
Practicing lawyer 3+ years.
Yeah, I guess graduated 2017, so I guess this is going to be what, my sixth year?
Wow. Okay. So he's
Second,
he's
sorry.
getting ready for his 6th year. Yeah, I had a conversation with someone the other day. I'm like, yeah, I'm 20+ years. I'm like, wait, it's 2023. I'm entering my 23rd year of practice. So it's crazy. Um, and we're always on. So when I say always on, you get it.
Yeah.
For the people out there that aren't attorneys or are foolish enough to want to go to law school or do something, or who always think the grass is greener on the other side, uh, let's start by giving a definition of what is always on.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something interesting because I've had this conversation with a lot of friends, family. My fiance is probably ready to throw me off of a balcony by now, but you know the age that we live in, a lot of times people like to make jokes about millennials, the new generations, all that stuff as compared to the older ones. But the one thing that I've noticed, and I'm on social media, I don't really post much on anything, but I'm definitely on all the major platforms, whether it's to kind of keep track of the news, unfortunately to see what my classmates are up to from like high school, even though I pretty much talk to the ones that I want to talk to already, so I kind of know what's going on. But the one thing that I think is really made a huge difference is that we never really just have downtime. Back at, even as early, even as recent 10, 15 years, you kind of got home, maybe watched some TV with the family, had some dinner. But a lot of the times it was just kind of a place to unplug and just kind of forget that the world exists outside of your house for a few hours before you go to bed. But now with smartphones, with social media, I know a lot of people are a lot smarter than I am as far as turning their emails off or not putting their emails on their phone. But it allows people to just get a hold of you 24/7, and it really doesn't allow for you to unplug at all anymore, even if you want to, because you're consuming social media, which means you're just always it's always something else. I mean, I get emails from clients at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., sometimes in the morning, 5 in the morning. And some of the times they want your immediate attention. And it's just, you know, 10 years ago, this would be unheard of. And nowadays it's expected. And it's the same thing. It's not even just in law. I think it is a pretty damaging part of being an attorney, but it's not just in law. Really, any profession, you're almost expected. And if your boss wants something from you now at 7, 8 p.m., you're looked down upon for not responding to it. So it's just, it's like running a car. You're not supposed to just have your car sitting in the driveway on overnight. And it's kind of the same thing with your brain. Our brains are just constantly running, and it just causes more and more stress.
And Corey, you said something about your bosses or all this. Unless I missed something over the past whatever, you work for yourself. You are your
Yeah.
own boss.
Yeah.
And it's not even that. It's I have people that work with me. I don't say for me, I say with me. I have people that work with me, but they're usually not the ones, and they're it's the clients. I have a client who thinks my day ends at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So what does he do? He starts calling at 6:30, 7 o'clock. And one time I answered the phone. I'm like, dude, why do you keep calling me at 6 o'clock, 6:30, or 10 o'clock on a Saturday? Oh, because I didn't want to take away from your working time. I'm like, dude, you don't like talking with you is work? Like, are we going to talk about, the football games coming up, or the Yankees versus the Marlins, or, something like that? No. Well, what do you want to talk about? Such and such project. That's work, dude. Just because you have downtime now. And that's the other thing. I get plenty of phone calls from friends, family, clients, all of the above. Jay, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? Nothing. I'm driving to work, or I'm driving home from a meeting. Okay. So I figured I had a half hour of time. I'll just call and see what's going on. Dude, it's 11 o'clock in the middle of my day. I'd love to catch up with you, but not going to happen. Or, you know what? I'll be driving my daughter to dance at 5 o'clock. I'll give you a call. I mean, I did that with you yesterday, Corey, but we both knew it. I'm like,
there was
hey,
a purpose to it.
Right. Corey and I had a phone call scheduled having nothing to do with this show. And I said, look, I'll be waiting for my daughter after dance around 6 o'clock. Does that work for you? He's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So you let people know. I think part of the problem today is lack of communication, lack of respect, and lack of what is reasonable. And when I say that, like, we communicate daily, right? Damar Hamlin has consumed me since I watched it live on the game. I wasn't there, but I watched it live on TV. It really hit home for me. And there was a lot involved, and I'm not going to get into that today. But every time this gentleman, he's alert. His eyes opened. He was taken off a vent. He said this. Like, I got instant gratification, instant news. And I was welcoming it because it was all great news.
Yeah.
And I followed it, and I was very into it, and it hit home for me and all that kind of stuff. So I think clients and people, they're used to the instant satisfaction, the instant gratification. I have clients, Corey, that, I kid you not, they'll email me, and within 4 minutes, I'll get a text saying, hey, I just emailed you. Okay. Well, if I'm on my phone and getting your text, I'm going to get your email too. Because I have this unique new invention called an iPhone. I know it's not commonly known throughout the world, but you could get emails and texts and calls on this device. So it's just the instant gratification, the instant demand, and you got to put everybody else aside and only deal with me, which I get. I work for a handful of different clients. I will never tell client A that I can't do client A's stuff because I'm doing something for client B, C, D, or F. However, I have started telling client A, look, you've given me 7 things, and all of them are an emergency, and all of them need to be done. You got to pick and choose which of your 7. I can't do 4, 5, and 6 because I'm still working on 1, 2, and 3. Well, I need them all done. Well, there's 1 of me and 7 projects. Put it in an order. Give me a checklist. Give me a to-do list. And give me reasonable deadlines.
Right.
And
the thing I think, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, one of it is like my lease is going to renew in April. Okay. and I have to give 30 days notice of the new terms. Okay. So at a minimum, I have till the end of February. But I want it now. Aha. You want it now, but you don't need it now.
Right. No,
And
and
that's
the thing about that is, and it kind of, and again, it comes down to today, where because of the instant gratification of social media, your phone, even just being able to get stuff in the mail now, like heck, like I don't know about you, but if I don't get something within 2 days, I freak out. Like, why is this not here already? And it kind of goes to the same thing that I've noticed, and it tends to be, respect to all your viewers that are of this generation. It really does tend to be a generation, like a certain age, like even above, your age bracket, where it's just, and what I want to ask is, when these people were at their early points of their career, or even in the midpoints, a high point, technology didn't exist to where you got things done immediately. But now it's like, same thing with you. Someone calls me, I get all my voicemails transcribed to my email, because I tend to communicate a lot better through email nowadays. It also allows me to then decide, okay, I need to do X, Y before I can do Z. Whereas if I'm answering phones all day, it's Z all of a sudden takes precedent over the entire alphabet, because it's the way my brain works.
Yep.
So someone will leave me a voicemail, and all of a sudden I get another call from them like 4 hours later. And I'm like, what did you? I'm gonna respond to you. I have replied to you every time. Why can't you just wait? One of my clients had a great solution, which was, every time they get an email or a phone call, they have an auto reply that says, please wait 24 to 48 hours for our reply before trying again. And I mean, I don't know how well that worked, because I never really jumped into their phone tree, but I thought that was something that was great as well. But it's just that instant gratification of today's world, where everything from your smoothie to, complex legal work, hell, sometimes even surgery, people just, it's a short attention span, I think, is really what it is.
So what about, so my there's two things that stem from that. Number one is managing expectations. And number two is just trying to figure out, like, really just what really needs to be done, what's going on. So, and I was of the mindset that if I'm not the one to pick up the phone on the Saturday morning when the client's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And when I was first starting out as an attorney, trying to get my own clients, I was on call 24/7. And then when I started my own practice, I didn't want to lose clients. I needed people to come in the door and all of that. Now, I still, I don't ignore phone calls or emails or texts or anything, but now I've got a little bit of breathing room. But I'll admit, with a new client, they want the attention. They want it right away.
Yeah.
And I try to do that. I try to at least manage expectations where I haven't been great at it of late. I've just been so overwhelmed. But within 24 hours of getting the call, email, or text, I will at least reach out and acknowledge. And I'll admit, I'm days, if not almost a week behind on all of that right now. And I plan on using this holiday weekend, taking one of those days and just responding and getting everybody up to speed. Like, I'm at least into 2023. So I have nothing from 2022 that I'm still waiting on. But my fear was always, if I don't pick up that phone on the Saturday, they're going to find someone else.
Absolutely.
Now, my thought process is this right here. You want someone else? Goodbye. Go. Now, it wasn't when I was, 5 years out of school and starting my own practice and doing my own thing. But that's what it is. The other thing is, like I said, under promising and over delivering. I'm real big into that. So, like, I just fired off an email to a client today. Got it. No problem. Can I have, till next Thursday to get it done? And the response was, that would be wonderful. I calendared that I need to have it done by Tuesday.
Yeah.
Now, if the client would have said, no, I need it done today, I would have said, not happening. No, right. I need it done by tomorrow. Not happening. No, I need it done after the weekend. All right, I'll see what I can do. So,
well, and that actually is super interesting that you bring that up, because that is something that I've started to learn weirdly enough, as a man who's now into his 30s, and I will be 31 next month, the one thing that I have never been good at for someone who, I think I have a great personality. I think I'm really good at talking to people. That's one of the things I really take pride in. But the one thing I'm very bad at is giving bad news. And that doesn't have to be, hey, sorry, like, you're such and such is dead. Like that's not exactly what it is. Even minor good news. And again, you could talk to my fiance, again, always wants to push me off of this balcony. So, if I ever die of mysterious circumstances, not telling you where to go, but what, and I do this with her, and I do this sometimes with clients, and it brings up to what you said, which is most people are okay with realistic expectations. It's just we're afraid to tell them because we think that it's bad because our profession, and this I don't know if you wanted to go into this full on like
Go
ground
for it.
up.
Go for it.
But I'm sure you've explained this a bunch of times to your listeners, but our profession to me is one of those things where everyone now thinks they can do everything, right? The DeMar Hamlin thing is a perfect example. Everyone thinks you're sitting on your couch, you watch Tua Tagovailoa, one of my favorite quarterbacks, make a bad interception, and you're just like, oh man, what were you thinking? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, you have 11 guys on the other side who are better at their jobs than anything you will ever do in your life by a mile. On top of that, you're Tua, you're a very athletic person to 99.999% of the rest of the population. But you have a man bearing down on you who is not only 6'5", 350 pounds, the man probably runs like a 5'2", 40. So he's coming at you faster than you can blink. And, but then on top of that, the corner just happened to make a really good decision. And, 9 times out of 10, maybe that's a coverage bust. And it's kind of the same thing with most professions nowadays. And I have found personally that law is one of those things where everybody who comes to me for help thinks that they can do it. And yeah, maybe you watch Law and Order SVU, which you watch CSI, all these shows where you have to do these different things with criminal law, but a lot of people think that they understand it, and I'm not saying what we do is rocket science, and in fact, I don't think it is. But I did go to school for 8 years to do this, and in those 8 years, that's all I had to do. It's not like I was doing something for 5 hours a week, and then the rest of the time my time was spent doing something else. If you asked me to do anything as well as somebody who's done something for 8 years and then as their primary profession, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's the same thing with me. I just took up ice hockey, and
Yeah.
I feel guilty. I feel bad sometimes because I'm like 6 months into playing hockey, and there are people who are so much better than me, but again, they grew up doing it. And
Well,
it's the
Corey,
same thing with our
it's the
profession.
exact same thing. We had somebody come out yesterday. Our ice maker in our house stopped making ice,
Mhm.
and I said to the gentleman who showed up, good morning. This is what's going on, and he's like, okay, and I just me, I'm saying, look, and this is almost exactly what I said verbatim. Look, I don't know. All I can tell you is what I've observed. The freezer is cold. The thing works. The water, the water is running. I think it's something between the water line to the ice maker, and I don't hear anything moving in the ice maker. But I don't do this for a living. That's just, I can tell you. And he's like, no, good. He's like, this is all great. I'm going to test it all anyway. You're not telling me this is what it is, but you're letting me know.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that when clients tell me, all right, look, I got sued because I didn't pay the rent, but I didn't pay the rent because, the landlord didn't come and collect it or the check bounce, whatever it is. Great. Thank you. I want all of those facts. The
Absolutely.
problem that I have is when their facts turn into my marching orders. I didn't pay the rent because the landlord is an SOB and I don't want this and da 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 and my windows aren't clean enough and I'm self-help and stop. Self-help, you shouldn't even know what that means because there's no such thing in Florida unless it's heat or I think water, but that's it. And it's not air conditioning, heat. Self-help, no, you don't get that. Pay the money. You got to. Well, no, I don't want to. Okay. Well, but I can't have an eviction on my record. Well, then you got to pay the rent.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And I agree. It's, everybody thinks, oh, Corey, you're an attorney. Great. I got a traffic ticket. What do? You hire a traffic attorney. You mean you can't handle that? No, I handle
Oh God,
business
yeah,
stuff and transactions. Well, I'm getting
yeah.
sued. What should I do? Get a litigation attorney. You can't do that? No,
You wouldn't
not
ask a
me.
podiatrist to do open heart surgery. And again, that's an extreme example, but for us, I learned this in law school and studying for the bar, and I can maybe tell you what to ask when you talk to the right attorney. But I mean, it's the equivalent of asking somebody to like, hey, like just because this is a cursory part of your profession doesn't mean a specialization, doesn't mean that everybody would know it. And that's a guilt thing
Right.
that tends to be rained upon us. Why don't we know? You know what I
Right.
mean?
So I'll say that depending on the client, the relationship I have with him or her, I'll say, look, I don't do this area of the law, but Corey does. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up a conference with me, you, and Corey. I'm not going to bill you for that conference. And you want me to be involved in the case? No problem. I'll hold your hand, but I've got to, if I'm working for you, I can't work for another client. And usually most of them will be like, all right, I'll pay you to stay involved. But some of them will be like, no, no, no. Introduce me to Corey. Don't charge me for that. And then I'll run with Corey. Is it okay if I ask you questions? Sure.
Yeah.
So speaking, is it okay to ask questions? We're going to jump. That was the fastest 21 minutes ever. So we ran through 21 minutes, which means we got to get on a quick commercial break. Corey and I will be back, and we're going to continue to talk about expectations, lawyers, professionals in general, the young generation, the old generation, you name it. We're going to talk about it. So commercial break, and then we'll be right back. We are back with the Ask Jason Weiss show. I am Jason Weiss. I am an attorney, but nothing I say here today and nothing that my guest Corey says here today shall be deemed legal advice. Although we are both attorneys, you have not hired us and do not rely upon anything that we say. So I'm welcoming back Corey Friedman. He is a fifth year or a sixth year practicing attorney here in the state of Florida. Loves doing more of the transactional and corporate work. One of the niches that Corey and I guess this is how we connected, is we're both fractional general counsels. Corey, for those people that don't know, what is a fractional general counsel? Hint, hint, hint. This is the time to sell your services.
Well, so actually, it's great. I had this conversation with a friend of mine yesterday who runs a small business. So basically, when you have an attorney who is with your business, as a W-2 employee or really whatever, when it's the only attorney, they're called general counsel. And general counsel, especially with the experience of someone like Jason, which is what you want, or me, I have a lot of experience in this. Now that we made the joke about fifth and sixth year, I didn't realize it snuck up on me so fast. But what what you don't necessarily want as a small to medium business is to have to pay somebody to be your full-time general counsel. And sometimes you will need someone 40, 50 hours, 50, 60 hours a week. But a lot of the times for a small and medium business, you really only need us for what, 10 to 15 hours a week, if that. Just kind of secure your basic legal rights, make sure that everything is secure, make sure that everything is safe so that you don't get in trouble down the road. Now, you don't want to pay somebody the salary to sit around for 35 hours a week. So basically, what we do, and you come in, you work for multiple businesses, but each business gets as much time as they need. And you come in, you act as as general counsel, answer any legal questions, you build contracts, build a database, secure intellectual property, and just basically make sure that in your new business or even your recently established business, make sure that you're setting yourself up to not get into legal trouble down the road. And a lot of the times that I've seen, the biggest trouble that businesses get into is they were so excited and had so much growth at the beginning that they didn't want to involve anybody else, and they kind of played a little too fast and loose with what they were supposed to do, either through reporting or just making sure that everything they did was in writing with their vendors. That's a big thing, is vendor agreements and people not understanding exactly, being on the same page. Oh, I have text messages that say that this person was supposed to do that, or oh, we had a handshake agreement. Well, that really doesn't mean anything. So making sure everything is done to where if you need to enforce your legal rights or have someone enforce their legal rights against you, you're able to actually defend yourself adequately.
Or we didn't have the money, we put it into marketing and we didn't put it into legal, so we didn't have anybody.
And that goes back to everybody thinks they can do our job. And I've seen a lot of times where someone is just like, screw attorneys, I can do everything myself. In fact, I'm negotiating with a company right now who just refuses to have an attorney, and they send back their red lines. And I'm just like, guys, I say to my client, like, this is great news for you. That's just all we're going to say. And
Right.
that's never what you want an opposing attorney to say about your legal work.
Never, never. And there's a lot of times that I'll be in a piece of litigation, and then all of a sudden an attorney will show up, and I'll tell my client, "Oh yeah, so and so hired this attorney, and the attorney's in," and my client will be like, "Oh man," I'm like, "No, no, no, that's great. I can get it resolved, attorney to attorney, or I'm going to make progress, attorney to attorney, as opposed to attorney to pro se or pro se to pro se."
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing. Also, with regard to the fractional GC, I mean, when COVID hit, I really went straight into that, and I started doing that for a bunch of my clients. I noticed a drastic pay decrease from them, but it was worth it to me for the stability. So I know me personally, I have one client that, I contract 10 hours a week, another one 15 hours a week, another one 20 hours a week. So if you're doing the math at home, that's over 40 hours a week already. But that's okay, because I'll work 80 hours a week. It's not a big deal. I don't think I've ever, except for maybe between Christmas and New Year's and the week of Thanksgiving, I don't think that the client would ever turn to me and say, "Boy, I didn't get the good end of that deal. I got to renegotiate." If anything, I'm the one who, on a 10-hour a week client, I'm pushing 12, 15 hours every week. I'm
Absolutely.
pushing, 25 hours on the 20 clients. So it's good, because we're not going to sit there and just go ahead and, "Oh, sorry, I'm at 19 hours. I'm only allowed 20. I only have 1 hour left and it's Thursday." I never do that. Now, where sometimes I'll get it, with the client is, excuse me, it'll be, "Oh, man, I had a hiccup and then I yawned. I'm boring myself. Look at that." No, if anything, it's with the client where I'm overgoing. I'm doing more. I'm getting it done. And the only client that asks me to keep track of the actual time that I'm putting in for, that's the one that, I'm sorry, I'm at 20. I'm done. All my other clients, "Hey, Jason, can you handle this? Can you handle that? We need this by next week." I just do it. I don't even keep
Yeah.
track. But I have one client that insists on getting a breakdown of all the stuff. And thankfully, they're only a 10-hour-a-week client. I hit 10 hours, I'm done.
Yeah, and
Hey,
that's why I got into this is because when I was in a law firm, I hate billing. And I mean, no one really likes it. Let's just be honest about
it's
that.
the
But
worst.
especially like, again, if I had to bill, 10, 15 hours, that's fine. But like the narratives take almost as much time to do. Like, I used to sit around at 5, 6 p.m., spend another 30 minutes just writing narratives for the billing that I did for
Yep.
the day.
Yep.
And yeah,
And
you're
you can't
100%
and you can't bill for that time. You can't
exactly.
bill to put together a bill. And you did insurance defense for a little while. They
Mhm.
require certain time entries and they require certain parameters. So, like if you're going to draft a motion to dismiss and it's 5 pages long, what do they think you can bill? A 0.2 per page, so an hour. But if it took you 3 hours because it was a
Oh, yeah.
complex issue, guess what? You'll put 3 hours down and they're going to chop you down in 1 hour.
Oh, they
So,
were so notorious for just
oh,
red penning everything. It was really frustrating. But with my clients now, like you're right, you get more for the most part, you'll get more than what you're even paying for. And you don't have to worry about me sending you bills. It's like, it's just one of those things. It works
yeah,
better for both sides. It's
well,
cheaper for them and
right.
you get the stability on your end.
One of my clients who gets 20 to 25 hours a week from me, he'll call me on a Saturday. He'll call me during dinner. He'll call me first thing in the morning. And I'll turn to my wife and I'll be like, it's so and so. She knows that he's a good payer. He's a good person. She'll be like, don't worry, take it. Or my kids will be like, hey dad, so and so is calling, because it's on the screen on my car when I'm driving. And I'll pick up, hey, how are you? And the whole kids will be like, hey, what's going. So yeah, you have that. But the clients that are, look, oh, you only worked 8 hours this week and we're paying you for 10. Well, guess what? I'm not picking up your phone call because
Yeah.
you're sitting there. And one of the things that, I learned this when my grandmother passed away many, many years ago, that, my dad, who had no experience with lawyers, no nothing, and had a phenomenal trust and estates lawyer who I recommended, he was always hesitant to calling the lawyer. Why? Because every time he picked up the phone and called, although it was reduced rate, guy would bing him. Ding, 0.1. Ding, 0.2. I called the guy, 0.2, no charge. So my dad would call me and say, hey, Jason, can you ask so-and-so these 4 questions for me? I'd be like, Dad, why can't you? Because he doesn't charge when he talks with you. So I said, so you won't call him because, well, it's not that important right now. And I'm sure I could speak to him next time. But yeah, I really just don't want to have to pay him, $50 to answer these 4 questions for me. And I changed my billing practices to take that into consideration. I get a client that calls me or shoots me a quick email, I'm going to respond. It's going to show up on a bill, email with, Bob Smith, 0.1, but it's going to say no charge.
Yeah.
Why? So that clients will call me before, not after. And I think that's part of the instant gratification as well. If they know they can pick up the phone and give you a quick call, Jason, I just want to run this by you real quick. Sure, go ahead. Or, you know what? Give me 10 minutes. I'm going to get in the car. I'm driving my kid, to lacrosse practice, or, I'm picking up my daughter from dance. I'll speak to you then. They know that I'm not going to bill them for that phone call. So they'll also accommodate my schedule, which is no problem. Call me in 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I think if it were different where they know they were paying for it, I would kind of feel guilty talking with them in the car with my family there,
Right.
or doing it when I'm not so focused. And that's not every scenario, but that's the gist of how I work my practice. And I love not having to do time, not having to do bills, not having to do that. But clients insist on it. Okay. You got to do what keeps the client happy.
Yeah, my favorite thing, honestly, when I work insurance defense, and there really wasn't a lot of them, was my boss would, the one who was in charge of our division would, once every couple of weeks would just be like, hey, I am not available at all today for anything. And he would just close his door and for 10, 12 hours would do nothing but his billing for the last like 3 weeks.
Yep.
And you know what? That's not very efficient. You
No.
just wasted an entire day. And for law firms that literally, we all know the structure, which is new attorneys make the most money. The fact that we're the new attorneys and now all of a sudden we're kind of left out to dry on some issues that we might be having, that kind of compounds. It's just, I've always thought the billing method, I understand it, but that's one reason why I hope to never be back in a full, like, my someone
Right.
else's law firm.
So I don't really I don't have a billable requirement. I don't have any of that, for my team. But what I have had to do in the past is just an accountability,
Mhm.
an email at the end of the day saying, "Hey, I worked on these 4 files," or for me, it's more of, "Hey, just make sure you're putting in your time on a daily basis," because I don't want the full day of I can't do anything today. I got to get in all my time,
Mhm.
or losing an entire day worth of revenue because you're sitting there putting in your time.
Mhm.
And it's the kind of scenario where I have to call in a shredding company, right? Because I'm shredding tons and tons of files all in one swoop. But if I would have stayed on top of it, my little shredder right here, in my office, that would have been fine. So now that I shredded everything, I hopefully will never need to use another shredding company because as things print, which is not a lot, I look at it, I use it, and I shred it. So
Yeah.
you do it right then and there. A, my office doesn't look like a mess. B, I don't have to get the shredding company to come out and wait for them and get the delivery and buzz them in and deal with all that. And C, I save money.
Yeah.
You save money at the end of the day. My shredder cost me $100. Each
Mhm.
time I had the shredding company come in, it was $100.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's working. It's working smarter. And I can preach this till the end of the world, and I'm guilty of not listening to my own advice. Set parameters, set expectations, and set them a little bit lower and overshoot. It's funny. My son was saying that he had to do. They're starting lacrosse season, and they're doing tests of where they are now, and then where they will be before the season starts.
Mhm.
So, he's running his best 40 and he's doing his best jump and he's doing this. And my wife, who, she was cheerleader, she didn't do the training and didn't do all that kind of stuff. She's like, you don't want to show your best now. You want to show the improvement. And my son, he's like, no, I'm going to show my best now and I'm going to show my best later because they're going to look at my start time and they're going to be like, oh boy, this kid needs a lot of work. And they're going to look at my finish time and they're going to be like, oh my God, he got so much better. He's like, I would rather just show a small increase. Same thing with clients. Hey, look, I can get it to you by the end of next week. No problem. If you deliver it on Wednesday, holy cow, are they going to be happy?
Yeah. No,
And
and then it just like just telling somebody I'm gonna get it done Thursday, they're completely fine. They're the exact same amount of happy as if you had said to them, I'll do it by Monday. Like they don't unless it's an emergency, they don't really care between Monday and Thursday. It's more about when if the delivery was on time. And that's
correct.
one thing that we need to be better at is also just like no one
Managing
cares. Yeah,
expectations and letting
absolutely.
people know. And you said it earlier, that you don't like to deliver that bad news. It's kind of funny. I literally posted on LinkedIn about that this morning. My LinkedIn post was that when people are applying for jobs and they get these emails back that are very standard on LinkedIn and Indeed, dear candidate, unfortunately, you haven't been selected. Why is that unfortunate? Might be unfortunate for me as the candidate, but you as the company got the person you want. So why
Yeah.
is it unfortunate? Don't start off by saying unfortunately. Start off, thank you so much for taking the time to apply. After reviewing all of your criteria, you have an impressive background, but we found other people that align more towards us. If anything changes, we'll be in touch. No unfortunate. No, unfortunately, you didn't fit the mold. No, you found your person. Good for you. Don't say unfortunately, because to me, that makes it sound like, wait, I got the job, but it's unfortunate that he didn't. huh? Did you really not want me? Is it like, no, no, stop with the unfortunate crap.
Yeah.
And lay the news down. Look, I know when I'm sitting around waiting on an order, waiting on a judge, waiting on something, I'd kind of rather know, all right, I lost.
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do. Motion for reconsideration, an appeal, something like that. As opposed to, 6 months just sitting around twiddling my thumbs. And I've always been like that. Tell
Yeah.
me, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to get over it quick. And I think that is what our current society, misses. You hear the term ghosting all the time. What that wasn't, I never would have used ghosted, 5 years ago. Maybe crickets or radio silence. That shows my age, not the crickets, but the radio silence. But that's what it is. And in a society today where everybody wants instant gratification, give them the instant, give them the feedback, just touch base, just send that quick email. Got it? No problem. I'll have it to you by Wednesday. You might get an email back saying, hey, I was hoping to get it by Monday. Is there any way you can get it faster? Shoot, I'll try for Tuesday. Monday is a holiday, or I'm in court, or, something like that. Again, it's I think just people want to be in the know, people want to be informed. And you might not always meet their deadlines or do it the way that they want, but at least they know what to expect.
Absolutely.
So we were talking before the show, before we started. I always try to throw out a hard question or something. So we are in playoff season for football. You mentioned Tua.
Mm-hmm.
What is your prediction for the Super Bowl matchup? What two teams, AFC and NFC?
Oh man. Well, it pains me to say that I don't necessarily think that the Dolphins are going to be making it. Um, I'd say out of the AFC, this is not really going out on a limb here, but I would say the Chiefs. They seem to have gotten.
No way. That's
They
crazy.
Yeah, right. And it's so wild because Tyreek Hill has had one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen as a wide receiver, playing with three different quarterbacks who all three of them have been injured at one point, and he still looks incredible. It's not this is one of those trades where it seems like both sides got better in that Andy Reid to me is going to go down as one of the best play callers of all time. Like the way he structures an offense is incredible. And it took them a while to figure it out, but now it's like it's not necessarily they don't miss him because anybody would miss Tyreek Hill, but they seem to now kind of make their bones in a different way on offense that seems to be working just as well. So, with Josh Allen kind of loving to give the ball away in the red zone, I don't see them beating the Chiefs this time around. And in the NFC, like as a Cowboys fan, it really pains me to say that the Eagles look great. I've
Yeah.
always been a big Jalen Hurts guy. I like guy. And this is the way he handled himself at Alabama was just very, very admirable, and I root for him every time.
I feel you there. I'm a Giants fan, and it pains me to say, the Giants probably aren't going to make it out of the first round. And I have a feeling I'm kind of with you. I think it's going to be a Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl. That's my thought. And hey, look, at least I'll be able to root for the commercials.
Absolutely, and it was funny. I'll give you one quick tidbit before we go. I went to Seattle this season. Had some time, and one of my fiance's goals in life is to see all 32 NFL stadiums at some point in her life. So every year we try to get one or two of those on the on a travel menu. We went to Seattle, and I mean, what they say is true. One of the best football environments I've ever seen. It was absolutely incredible. But as a petty Cowboys fan, there was a couple Giants fans. They were playing the Giants, I should say. And Daniel Jones made a couple of plays, and I just started screaming, "Give him the Mahomes contract!" And all the Giants fans turned to me and just looked at me, and I'm just kind of like, so we'll see. I'm gonna enjoy these playoffs. Good luck to Skylar Thompson. I'm really really rooting for him. I just don't see it. We had tickets to the Dolphins Bills playoff game but we couldn't really find a flight. And then when Tua wasn't cleared to return, it was kind of like, yeah, do we really want to spend all this time and money, you know, to get over there? So we gave him up. But yeah, hopefully we get some good games this postseason.
So that was my tough question. Here's my easy question. Corey, someone decides that they're looking for a fractional GC, someone to help out 10, 15, 20, 40, 80 hours a week. How do they get in contact with you?
It's very easy. You just go to www.lawflg.com. You'll find my beautiful photo, places to contact me, set up a meeting at your convenience. Give me a call, 407 588 8181. Answer all times of day except on weekends at midnight. Um, but also Corey at lawflg.com. That's Corey. And just email me and have a conversation. I'm not really the kind of person, I try not to be pushy because I hate when people in sales positions are pushy to me. So, I just like to have conversations with good people. So if you have any questions that you just want to know more or just kind of see if there's a fit, just give me a call, send me an email, set up a time. We'll have a nice conversation that I won't charge you for.
Hey, see that? I taught already. So I'm so happy, Corey. Thank you for being here today.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. We will continue our conversations offline. Make sure you have it with guest Corey Friedman was today's show. I am Jason Weiss. Ask Jason Weiss Show. You can always find me at 954-573-2800 or Jason at jswlawyer.com. I want to thank the Going Solo Media.com network and the Going Solo network. CC, you are the best. Thank you so much for doing this. And I will see everybody in 2 weeks. Corey, thanks again for being here. And good luck to your Dolphins this weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And anytime.